Whoa. Hi and welcome back. Isn't it a little bit on the cold side, eh? A bit of cold weather blowing in from across the north area. We're back. New Year 2018. How's everybody feeling so far? Got all New Year's resolutions all sorted and everything? Cool. For those who haven't, much like myself, just go with the flow. Whatever needs changing, we change. If we need to improve something, we improve something. Either way, good luck to you if you've made any resolutions for the new year. Okay, I said to you at the beginning of December, middle of December, that I would see the new year in with you. And here we are. I had the opportunity to have a look through some of the speeches, be it whether it be the Queen's speech, Mam's speech here in the United Kingdom, or the party speeches, and there certainly is a common theme across the board. I say theme, but it's more of an understanding. It's what we're also looking towards resolving in 2018. General terms of speaking, looking at some of the stuff I've got here, is the praise to the soldiers and the efforts that are going on around the world for peacekeeping or basically assisting homeless, elderly and disabled, and mental health. Without any question, they're all valid, and we have covered them in the past. Much the same as why are homeless people homeless? Some would contest it's their own decision. Others being mistreated by the system or forgotten about the system. So there's a whole host of things. Even technology, artificial intelligence. There's been a lot being tweeted and other bits of news going on about the universal basic income. So there's a vast amount of stuff going on. But as is with all things, we have to kind of like narrow the focus down a little bit. Now, it can be quizzed and questioned that why me? In some instances I could say, why not? Some others would say, well, you're not really qualified. Well, what kind of qualification do you need? Yeah? Some would say, well, you're just a blogger. And to be a consultant, as I heard in was it November I believe, about I would need to be practicing psychology and various other things for about 10 years before I could become a consultant. Well, looking at things like that, I suppose you could say that whilst not qualified as a psychologist, I am not psychologically evaluating anybody. Therefore, in turn, I'm not consulting on anything. In terms of consultation, I've been doing this for about 8 years, and other practices prior to that, employment training, working as part of a local liaison and business developer. So cumulatively working within the public spheres, I've been doing this for more than 10 years. This type of thing for more than 10 years. So I suppose you could say that I'm more than qualified and experienced to do this. That was just to hang out one or two little quirks that are hiding in the system there from the previous year. But what we do with that information is carry it through, because when we're looking at things like homelessness, yes, you would be right to say some of them it is their fault, and some and the rest of it is to do with governing systems. The proportion in terms of percentages on one side or the other, that's something different, because on one side it could well be mental health issues, it could well be a lack of understanding of how to operate within the system, the best method of practice, how to do things. But that being said, if that was the case, then it's a failure on the system side, isn't it? Knowing too full well through assessments like the people are supposed to go through, be it in this country or any other country for that matter, because bearing in mind we're not talking about just the United Kingdom now, are we? We can go all the way across to the United States, right across to the other side of China and down to Australia, back across to Africa and through to Southern America. Yeah? It happens everywhere. Yeah? In a world full of people, mindful of dreams and aspirations and so on and so forth, it is easy for people to lose track or fail to understand a forever changing system. In turn, then impacts on their mental health, on their ability to understand what's going on around them. In turn, that's what sometimes a lot of these videos are about, is to bring these forward to you, show you what I've observed, and then help you make your way through it. So the system is evaluated, therefore, and in turn, they should know that there is issues going on. So therefore, and in turn, once again, they should react to it. We're not paid to do that when it's not our... No. The rest of that goes away. And that is the reason why these blogs, shall we call them, advice, moments of consultation exist. Because back in 2009, it was realised, not only by myself, but those previous to this process starting, those who have attempted to do this in the past, have all come to realise that there are things happening in the system that need to change. Yeah? We've already identified that with the JCP, or Job Centre Plus, or Department for Works and Pensions. Is that they have scorecards, they have to do this, they have to do that, there's targets this, targets that, and they get lost, things get lost in translation. People get lost in the system. So whilst you're actually looking for answers for a resolve, and I'm not necessarily going to give it all here and now because we could be running on for a good period of time, we need to take a step back to be able to take two steps forward. So we always keep one step ahead, or one step up front. So we need to start looking back at the JCP, DWP, any other related organisations, to find out or find where it went wrong. Right? Like I said, is it the individual's fault? Have they failed to understand something? Have they lost motivation? Again, as we were saying with mental health, is it, when we say about elderly and disabled, is it something to do with their age? Have they lost motivation? Yeah? Something within their life has shunted them out of sync with everything else. It's not about being conformist either, or being a conformist and being a part of the system, being told what to do and so on and so forth. But whilst you're under the care of the Departments of Works and Pensions, yes, there are going to be certain things that you have to do. Yeah? Much the same as like if you're a minor and you live at home, there's going to be certain rules that you have to adhere to, and certain things that you have to do in order to make your life work. And that is what catching you here and now at the beginning of the year put things into perspective of everything that's happened to move forward. Yeah. This is what needs to happen. Looking into the details, giving you an idea, an indication as to where to look. Okay? Look at it from the JCP and the DWP's perspective. See how it is they're actually seeing things, their policies, their procedures. Yeah? How is it some of them are still acting? Because believe you me, I've spoken to some over the last year or so, and they really don't care. Yeah? Whether it's something that's descended from the top and they're acting in accordance to that, or it is just the wrong person doing the wrong thing. Yeah? It's basically, it's not the job they're supposed to be in, or ideally suited to. Yeah? It happens. I'm not saying it should be permissible, but it does happen. When it comes down to the elderly and disabled, there have been talks, as been covered over the Christmas period, about elderly and disabled, or when it comes down to the NHS, bed blocking, the caring of the elderly people, the fluency system, how is it getting backed up? Now already you've presented answers to your problems. You've identified the problems. But this is the thing, you see, whilst people feel a little on the depressed side about seeing negative news all the time, it gets, shall we say, to be a concern when you think to yourself, well, if you know what the answers are, why are you not doing something about it? If the government are actually aware, as in you, the government, are aware that these are the problems and that you have the ability to deal with said problems, why are you not? Rather than, is it something to do with public exposure? Because there have been occasions where I just have to sit back and think to myself, give it a couple of weeks, they'll say their piece, they'll have their arguments, and lo and behold, it's all this media exposure, they'll do it. Look at us, we did it. Rather than just doing it. It's about media coverage, about reputation, it's about merits. Yeah? Genuine merit would come if used to actually identify the problem and deal with it. A couple of thousand people in the grand scheme of a couple of 100,000 people, well, is rather neither here nor there, is it? So we need to start looking at this more proactively, start working with it, and start showing results. Now, we've already mentioned before, or several times, as a matter of fact, it happens to be the vein that runs right through all of this, cause and effect. There's even been debates about, can effect come before a cause? The cause is the effect, and the effect is the cause. Bit of a mind game, really, in some ways. An effect is a moment in time, therefore it is the cause. So an effect isn't a cause, an effect can create a cause, therefore cause becomes a new effect. It's cyclic. It depends on where you want to start. It depends on the severity of the problem, and if you actually need to point blank. Yeah? Is it you? Are you at fault? Are you the effect or the cause? So by the time you've finished, it's the chicken and egg scenario, isn't it? Question largely falls upon, whilst you're debating it and coming to further understand it, and we use that as basis of our understanding, when does the positive effect come in to play from understanding the cause? It's up to you to work it out, isn't it, at the end of the day? Point and matter of it all is, yeah, you're starting from the beginning. Yeah, some of it could be laid down to an understanding of how people are taught within school. Yeah, which then in turn, if not taught appropriately, could lead on to the fact that people would, let's say kids, young adults, go awry. They shunt off the track. Therefore, and in turn, become homeless there. Or begin to start problems. Or start to create problems. Further problems from that. They might be fortunate in a way of being able to figure it out for themselves. But then something else happens within the system. Well, it's trial and error, These things happen. But should they? Yeah? If a system is set up in such a way whereas it's being responsible and yours, so on, let's stick with it. Why is it not being dealt with? Why is it not being captured prior to this? There is a whole host of stuff. Like I say, with the elderly and disabled side of things, it's much the same like this. Why are they there? Loneliness. How are they lonely? Is it to do with family? Is there any family? If not, how would you deal with it? Not avoiding, like I have said to people recently, when you start avoiding negatives, you avoid the opportunity or possibility to either identify or create more positives. No, we don't like to be burdened with negatives. It don't make us feel good. Me, who've sat here in some instances, looking back over the years, a constant barragement of negatives. Are they? Or is it an opportunity to actually find something is in the way of a resolve? Yeah? Let's look at this from a bit of a crazy point of view. If I'm your last port of call, right, it's not about who I think I am, it's more a matter of who I know I am, right? So let's get that one out there, right? Get out the way. I'm trying to think of the best way of actually putting this across. If I'm the final port of call, right, and let's say that this is the final time that you're going to receive any help from anywhere, be it directly or indirectly, be it metaphysically or physically, yeah, what happens when all of this kicks off again? At the end of the day, right, it may seem like a negative, but it's an opportunity for you to actually see, realise, accept, and then move on. Or rather, resolve, then move on. Periodically come back and test again. Right? This is old news, but it's news now. It's an opportunity for you to take into consideration everything that has happened over the past 9 years. We're now in the 9th year. Everything that's happened over the 9 years, yeah, and think to yourself, okay, let's say there is some truth in all of this. We take into consideration all these little details that he's been dropping, the hints and everything he's been dropping over the years, and do something with it. What if? Well, like I said before, if is a big word. Even within itself, if is a big word. You either commit to the resolve, yeah, or you're committing to continually working with or being a part of the problem, I suppose you could say. Yeah? Committing to the resolve is never going to be easy. Like, for instance, giving up smoking. Yeah? Let's take a micro kind of element, a micro problem with people. Some people don't see it as a problem. People are happy with it. Happy smoking. They enjoy it even. Yeah? So therefore, in their mind, it's not a problem. Yeah? And unfortunately, there's not a huge amount you can do with that until they realise themselves that it is indeed a problem. For instance, their health is decaying, say, for instance. Yeah? It may require a life-changing event to be able to show them that excessive amounts of it, perhaps, is going to be causing the problem. But as soon as you realise that and accept that, the fight is to actually say, right, enough's enough. We're going to stop doing that and make our way through. And what we do is we find a resolve that is suitable to ourselves. Some of them might take on board the sprays. This is giving up smoking still. Some might decide a patch, some chewing gum. Some even actually have the constitution, a strong enough constitution, whereby they can just give up that. Done it over. It was just a fad. Yeah. Well, then so be it. Great. Yeah. But at the same token, that is the point that's being made. Is identifying the problem, what it can and can't do, or what it is doing, rather, in this case, and then finding its solution, and the solution that suits you. Yes, there is going to be a need for invest back in. Yes, there is going to be a need to find where that money comes from. In some instances, it's like, for instance, with the issue of the European Union. Their coffers, their finances, are like a black hole. It's just being consumed. Money, it's money after old rope in some instances, because, and I say old rope because it's old mindsets dealing with it all again. We're back to that bureaucratic process towards things. There are people who believe that they deserve more than what they're entitled to, or what they've earned. Yeah. When you free up a lot of the resources, you clean things up and whatnot, all of a sudden you begin to find the money that you need. Yeah. Or you begin to find the courage, the conviction, the commitment that you required to give up smoking. Or give up drugs even, I suppose. Yeah? But it's all intertwining. Mental health, based on understanding stuff, based on understanding things, the world around you, and so on and so forth. that in itself is also an educational side of things, and running in parallel. I'm not talking about mental health in the terms of a disability. Now that is something different. That is a beast within itself that needs dealing with within itself. We've also covered some of that within the conspiracy side of things a good few years back. Yeah. Certain things happen for a reason. Sometimes the DNA, as it's firing to unfold itself, sometimes it misfires. But we're talking about mental health in the terms of a person's perspective. Something may have happened within their life. Identifying what that is will help towards its resolve. So again, it's education, it's understanding. Yeah. That then leads on to either varying other disabilities or onto an ability to move forward. Can you see where we're going with this? Do I realistically need to keep coming back and showing? I get an impression that some part of me telling me yes, some of you are telling me yes, others is like, no, I don't really want to keep listening to this. Do something about it. Right? Even if you're not part of politics and you're a keyboard warrior, shall we call it, or a keyboard ninja, I believe they call it, right? You have the capability within you to do something. Even if it's just helping those around you. Yeah? Every little helps. Yeah? Pointing out to various other people, maybe, I don't know, within the governing sphere, that certain things need to happen in order to change. You might be part of the political sphere. Yeah? You can do something about it. The answers are there, the resources are there also. Right? Just a lot of people seem to think the priorities are elsewhere. Now, granted, on a political side of things, whilst doing my research, or rather observing and listening to some of the speeches and whatnot, and I'm not dismissing them, they're all valid, especially the efforts of the soldiers in the terms of peacekeeping, and that they're doing their job having to fight wars against terrorism. Yeah? I've also been down the avenue of the Oxford Union Society. Yeah, I've viewed some of their videos. They've covered the Brexit. They've covered various homelessness and whatnot in the NHS. Socialism. There's been talks of Marxism, communism, and Leninism, part of it all. And even then, they're still debating on how these things are working, when in reality, if you used to actually put aside political ideology for a moment and allowed yourself to accept the fact that there is an answer, irrespective of whether it is one thing or another, the point largely falls upon how far will that benefit go. And I'm not talking about benefits in the terms of financial means and understandings, claims. I'm talking about how far will that benefit go, will that resolve go. It doesn't matter whether it's Marxism, Leninism, communism, Labour, liberal, or capitalism, should I say, when it comes down to elements of the labour side of things, because capitalism is about, shall we say, the non-oligarchs, the everyday worker wanting their slice of the pie, isn't it? Of course it is. Yeah. It's being able to progress their own lives. And nobody should really step in the way of that. Which, in reality, does lead us on to looking forward to the three other aspects of all of this, what I mentioned before, which was technology, artificial intelligence, and universal basic income. Yeah. To keep this short, we'll cover that one, and then on to the last one. Now, over this following year, yes, I will, this up and coming year, I will be making more effort in terms of policies and various other things, putting my two pence worth in, so to speak, and really kind of like working out this with people, because I'm not a technophobe. I came through the emergence of technology. Remember the Spectrum 48K, even the Atari ST. It was ST, well, it was the Atari, and the Spectrums and all the rest that goes with it. So I came through all of that, gained an appreciation for it, and still do now. Still like the idea of technology. Problem is with the emergence of artificial intelligence, some of its uses and whatnot, I think to myself that you have to be careful. And I've said it once before, and I've wrote it down once if not twice, definitely once, that this, if not utilised carefully, it doesn't matter whether it's come from Silicon Valley, MIT side of things, or whether it's come from the main leading scientists world over, from NASA even. If it's not rolled out or developed properly, as I sort of should say, developed and then rolled out properly, humans naturally and can be born idle, to say the least. Yeah? They can be born idle, no question about it. As I've been seeing in advertisements of, was it DFS, I believe it is, about the SETI, yeah. We could very easily become couch potatoes, and that is my concern. Is eventually becoming a race of currently 7 billion born idle individuals. Naturally speaking, also in the same vein, it won't be all 7 billion. Yeah. It's just quite literally, I'm over exaggerating a little bit to actually put a point across that if left to do so, people will quite happily take money for nothing. And they will, and then become somewhat born idle. Because if industry has got technology to actually do it all for us, and various other things have been taken care of, you're only really giving people money just to spend on what's being produced, not money to spend to produce something other than reproduce. I think you know what I mean. And you talk about an overpopulation problem now. Okay. But then on saying that, artificial intelligence, technology in the terms of robotics and so on, so yes, it could be a good thing. It could well be a great thing to move humanity in the terms of planet Earth, help move forward. Yeah, there's a lot of prospects. So being in here, you can hear noises echoing around, so sometimes you have to have a look around and go, huh? Yeah. And it's from a unit over that way. It's alright, anyway. So yes, it can be used. I'm not going to do this all for better or for worse and so on and so forth, and be the soothsayer and whatnot, and cry and end his nay. But looking at the world at large, it is literally one of those that it can either create us, build us, progress us, or it can indeed destroy us. Yeah? That is the I suppose if I was to use, is it the day the earth stood still, is it? I suppose it could be said that we are now, if not already there, but approaching the precipice, yeah, of human realization, human ability. Which way do we go with all of this? Much the same as what I was saying about education. Yeah? Depending on what's being taught and the receptive, how that information has been received and then in turn dispensed, what direction are you going to go? It's the same with when people left alone. Again, it's the self and the same thing. Yeah? Much the same as what I said about soldiers, about their perspective, skill, experience, attitude. Yeah? It's whole path, of course. If you look back along the time, you'll see all of this coming together. Yeah, whether it be the conspiracy theories, for instance, whether it be actual politics, social aspects, planetary. It may seem a little far-fetched on the first instance, But you look back across it all and it's like, wow, okay, that's a bit too much to process in one go. But it's there, isn't it? Yeah? Technology, artificial intelligence. Because of that, and yes, the lower skilled jobs, as in the labour jobs, I've even seen house building technology, where a robot can come along, a big crane, and it can lay bricks, build a house. So when you're talking about even some skilled, see, that's not an unskilled industry, that's a skilled industry. Yeah? So even some of the skilled industry can actually be taken over. But then that's where we need to look at the universal basic income. Yeah? I've already pointed out through utilitarian Democrats' policies that we need to explore where this would actually be applied. You can't just say, well, everybody's entitled to it in the first instance, because where's the money coming from? No, seriously, where is the money coming from? It has to come from somewhere, doesn't it? So when you start exploring these things, you have to ask yourself the question: if you was going to integrate said universal basic income, who would be the first ones to receive it? Would it be the homeless people to help them back on their feet again? Especially if their mental health is not what it could be, or what it should have been. Yeah? Is it do you replace certain age groups? Yeah? Do you actually target the actual unskilled, and then with the hope that UBI, or universal basic income, actually helps them to become more skilled? There's also the fact that when you actually look at the universal basic income, what are they actually going to do with their time? Fair enough, the trial runs have already pointed out that some people have put it into, I don't know what was the last one I looked at, furniture building. They built their own business. They used that money, no questions asked. They was entitled to it for as long as they wanted it, and as long as it was available naturally. They reinvested it back into themselves to be able to, shall we say, not only support their household, which is what the universal basic income was also doing, but to enhance further their situation and also build a business for themselves. So they created a new form of microeconomy out of it for themselves, for people around them. Yeah? Those are you driven people, those are you people who have got aspirations. Yeah? So when you're looking at all of this, it's doing it rationally, reasonably, responsibly. Yeah? How do you actually form a plan for all of this? Who are you going to target first? Yeah? Because eventually, yes, it will. A lot of industries will become automated because it becomes cheaper and it's easier to repair and replace. But then on saying that, we're giving more people free time. Remember when we was talking about cause and effect? You give people too much time on their hands, what happens? No, some of you don't know. Well, if you go back to the 40s and 50s and whatnot, when there wasn't as many TVs around. Like I said, if it's not production or consumption, it's reproduction, right? See, by the time we're finished, we can see there's natural cycles within all of this. Yeah, that is fine. I will get involved. I know some of you, well, you know all of this, why do you do this? Yeah, we need, I'm getting there. Yeah? Rome was not built overnight. Alright, it may have been destroyed overnight, but it wasn't built overnight, okay? Right, looking at aspects like that, I know it's a bit negative, but looking at things like that, we can honestly say now we have progressed on to a point with we'll call it a problem, but we'll also call it an inevitable awakening within the actual island or territory of Korea, as in the whole north and south. In this year, yes, in and amongst Iran and Iraq and Syria and whatnot, getting themselves sorted out in one capacity or another, and there certainly is an outcry for a resolve to their political system, and they want to feel as though they're included in with the rest of the world, and not only in the rest of the world, but in their own country, and so on and so forth. North and South Korea are planning on holding talks, whether it's driven by North or whether it's driven by South. I'm thinking to myself, one, it's a good thing, but two, we're going to have to be a little on the careful side with it, which leads me to make the suggestion, so if somebody else wants to put this forward themselves, make the suggestion, whereas those who could be deemed to have a vested interest with the North or South are to leave well alone. However, because I know it's been influenced in the South, and yes, I've also pointed out a sense of interest in seeing South and the way they conduct themselves, and it seems very productive and very involved, and so on and so forth. I've shown my favour towards them. However, balances, right? My suggestion would be, is those who have any form of vested interest in the territory of Korea, be it North or South, take a step back. Now, within that same understanding, I would go as far as saying that whilst more likely already there, and I have read some of the news, skimmed through it, and yes, I do need to read more and go deeper in. However, based on what I do know now, is that the UN, I would suggest they do monitor it. I'd be there as a mediatory system. It also has a direct digital record of what goes on. In other words, we don't have advisors carrying suitcases around with them with minutes and so on and so forth in them, so they could mysteriously disappear. They're gone straight away. And that as a form of mediator, like we were saying before, when it came down to Julian Assange and him taking refuge, act as a mediator, not an actual defence as such. The idea is then basically North and South can then talk to themselves and work out their issues. Bearing in mind though, when we look at the north side of things, is that the world has been watching already. So we know about some of the tricks and, shall we say, the psychological tricks and the reverse psychology and the people who are, shall we say, seeking exile or trying to exile from a country and whatnot. So we know about all of that side of things. So I would suggest being honest, just simply being honest and open. Lay out what you want on the table. But likewise the same with the South. Right? Whilst you've had a great deal of help from certain Western territories, make sure that anything you do put across is genuinely your own understanding. Yeah? It's genuinely your perspective. Even if it is shared, it still needs to be genuine. And nobody can stop you from having a shared opinion. Yeah? That's the same with North. Let's just say, for argument's sake, and certainly not pointing no fingers of accusation, that China or Russia has been speaking with the North, right, giving them suggestions, things like that. As long as it's genuine, then hang it out between the pair of you. Right? Nobody wants to see war. Nobody wants to see our own creations being our own destruction. Yeah? We don't want to see, on a wider scale, even underneath the surface, as I was saying before, that we are either reaching or we are at the precipice of understanding. A lot of people don't want to see our creations become our own destruction, our own demise. Yeah? When you think about it, we have this capability, right? And it's like being given a toy, isn't it? What are you going to do with it? It's like being given a car. The car is only as dangerous as the driver. Yeah? The same with nuclear and atomic energy. It's only as dangerous as those who are refining it, or producing it, or creating something out of it. Yeah? Talk freely, but talk wisely, talk sensibly. Between the pair of you, and looking at the Book of Odes, and I know it's not directly Korea, but it's of the Eastern realms, and you do have a similar vein of philosophy, general wisdom going on there. Bullying your people or anything like that, or it's just not a dumb thing, is it? You haven't come through your timeline to be like this today. Yeah? Would I be wrong in saying so? Yeah? Remember the wisdom of your elders. Yeah? Those who've looked for prosperity, the kindness towards others, to be able to build a greater nation. Yeah. Alrighty, in and amongst misinterpretations of elegantarianism and various other political philosophies and so on and so forth, I'm pretty certain by the time we've finished this year, I think all of us should be in a better position. I'm going to take you back to one element of conspiracy theories, some of the training packages that I put out on the Tinterweb for you. I used numerology, tarot and various other, metaphysical understandings to help you with various other understandings. Like 15 is the number of the devil, not 6. That's only when it's compressed. Yeah? Then it's something else. Yeah? A fox and so on and so forth. Yeah? 2018, fair enough, adds up to 11. But the key element within it all is the 2, there's the 18, there's the 9, and there's the 11. What relevance does it all come to? 2 is about unity, it's about communication, it's about the two sides coming to understand each other. 18 is about the fact that it's going to be difficult. This year will be difficult because you've got the Brexit, you've got the North Korea, you've got you've got Korea, you've got Central Asia. Could you call it Central Asia? Yeah, you could probably call it Central Asia, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and whatnot. You've got them elements to be dealt with. Unfortunately, US, yes, I can see the issues surrounding Donald Trump and various other things. I've said I'd like to have a chat with him, but I got the inference, I got the idea that people would rather I didn't. It's fine, okay. Right, but you got some of the American side of things. Yeah. There's loads of little bits that are going to happen this year, right? Let's say the Brexit, Korea, North and South, you've got Central Asia, you've got a few things going on across in Africa, and you've also got the United States. Right? And then you've also got your trade aspects, you know. So we've also got the change of climate. People have noticed and saying, yes, it's a change of climate. So 18, it's going to be a very difficult year. People could probably either get lost in translation, or you could indeed find yourself. And that's where 9 comes in. Yeah. How we get through this as a hermit. Think about this. Work it out. Take a little time to work it out. Yeah. And 11, because it will in turn form, shall we say, a just approach. Use the law if needs be to dispense an appropriate decision. Don't use an itchy trigger finger. Yeah? You can do this. Yes, I will be here over the year also. I will be working on utilitarian dynamics, like I said in the last video. We're working on that a little bit more. Yeah? So, looking at all the different numbers and so on and so forth, looking at it from a metaphysical as well as a physical point of view, yeah. Pay attention. Listen. Yeah. Work things out. You can do it. We've all got the capacity to be able to work this out. So let's do it. Yeah. Right. Happy New Year to you all. It's been interesting so far. You've been working things out. You have? You've been making headway in a lot of things. My search area is becoming more refined. I'm finding places where I know that people are now sitting down and discussing stuff. Things are becoming more well-rounded, and people are accepting that the perspective on things, or my perspective on things, is somewhat more valid than what first thought. For an example, I'm not picking on women in general, and nor do I wish to strum on a nerve, although some will make something out of nothing. But 3.5 billion women on the planet, and four types of sanitary towels. Every woman is unique and different to themselves, but they've only got 4 towels to choose from. Where's the rest of the differences? That would, in theory, suggest that there's just a little short. There's actually a little short of 1 billion women that's different to the others. Quirky, I know, but hey, that's perspective for you, isn't it? Right. You enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll chat again soon.